Hello, everyone, and welcome to Am I the Asshole podcast. I'm Shannon D, and today I am joined by Horace Gold.
It is I. Hello, AITA.
Welcome back.
Excuse me.
Clear your throat, babe.
Hold on.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you for having me. Hi, guys.
We are here.
Grateful to be back. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm happy to be back. I was gone almost a month, basically.
Damn.
I went to Europe. For those of you guys that don't know, I went for 2 weddings. And then we stopped in the East Coast on the way back, visited my parents for a little bit. Then we went to an engagement party and then a baby shower. And then I'm home, but I was basically gone like 27 days or something.
We literally,
it was a very long time.
Our whole friend group, we were like, is she okay?
Yeah, they were worried about me.
She got Liam Neeson'd.
Because I did not post at all when I
Or
was
text
gone.
us back.
I texted you back.
Days later.
That's not true.
Do you want the receipts?
Yes, I do,
Okay,
actually.
I'll pull them up because I texted you.
Days later.
If you even text me back at all, girl. And look, I give grace because you were gallivanting on your Eat, Pray, Love.
What?
But we were worried.
All right, let me check my receipts then.
What do you think I deleted them on my end?
Yes.
So that they look a certain way? Literally on Sunday, September 8th at 7:31. Thinking of you. Love you. You said thank you. We've been having a really good time. I'm so glad to hear that. I miss you. Sunday, September 22nd.
So I was supposed to answer that? I guess I could have said I
Were
miss
you gonna? Because you didn't miss me.
I guess I didn't see
you
it.
didn't have to. No, you weren't supposed to answer that.
I did miss you.
But you didn't have to say anything, and you took that privilege and that right, and you didn't tell me that you missed me. You ghosted me after telling you I missed you.
So then you thought I got kidnapped and sex trafficked.
I said, Shannon, where are you? If you're not telling me you miss me and love me, a tragedy has occurred.
Yes. You are now in the movie Taken.
You are now the movie Taken. So texted her again, miss you, and then I had to text her a little bit of tea.
Well, and then, of course, I answered.
Of course, I awakened the beast.
Yes. Obviously.
And then we were back.
I literally, you're ridiculous. That
Sorry.
does not hold up in a court of law.
I would think that the defense would allow that
Rest
to
their
be
case.
I just won the case.
So now I'm back. Just to recap really quick, we went to France for a wedding. Then we were in Copenhagen, Dusseldorf, Germany, and then Zurich, and then Capri, and then Munich for one night. So we went all around. Capri was another wedding. And then back to Jersey, baby.
Jersey.
My roots.
All roads lead back to Jersey.
But we have a very fun theme today.
Uh-huh.
Service industry.
Lesai.
I don't know whether this is very fun, but...
Triggered. I'm like...
Triggered. We're PTSD.
I'm not going to lie to you, but to be so honest, I got a little bit of a chill.
Well, that's like, you know, that show The Bear? Like, I get triggered by that.
I didn't watch the second season.
Oof. It's
Because
rough. I mean, I think it's anxiety inducing for anyone, but especially people that have been in the restaurant industry.
100%.
So both of us have been servers. We are hoping we are former servers.
That's the plan.
And that we never have to go back. But you know what? It's nice to have it as a backup plan.
Listen to my new podcast so that I never have to go back to being a server again, please.
Yes, hardly
it's called
qualified.
Hardly Qualified with Horace Gold. Because again, guys, I worked in service for 8 years. I am hardly qualified to do anything else other than serve and be a ridiculous person on the internet.
Yep, pretty much.
God.
So
When
my
did you start
first,
serving?
yeah, I was just about to say,
In sync. Hey, Justin.
The first ever service job. Well, I worked at a water park, but if we're talking just like restaurants specifically, and that was in customer service and ticketing, that was when I was 14. And then the next year, when I was 15, my sister and I both started at Uncle Bill's Pancake House. You've heard about this. Yeah. In Wildwood. There's like 6 or 7 in the Jersey Shore.
Isn't there one in Manhattan Beach?
It's not the same.
Okay.
Yeah, there is, but it's not the same company.
Cool.
And so my sister and I both got a job there. She was 17, so she got to be a server, but I wasn't allowed to be a server. But they had promised me, if you come back next year when you're 16, you can be a server. But I had beef with the daughter of the manager.
Name and shame. What happened?
So,
Bitter details right now. Yeah.
So basically, when I was young, like young, my friends, I had these 2 twin friends that I was really close with. Their grandmother lived in this same like trailer park as this family. And so I would go over there and play with them, and they were their neighbors. And this girl would always come over and play, and we did not like each other. Like, she was not nice at all. So like, she didn't like me. I think she was like territorial over these girls, even though I'd grown up with them like my entire life. And for whatever reason, she didn't like me. And so I hated going over there and playing whenever she was around. So then after, like, it was only like a couple years I had to deal with her, and then whatever, our lives all went in different directions. And then I'm 14 and we start working together, and we're like getting along for the first couple days and everything's good. Then we're like, yeah, you look so familiar. You do too. And then we put the piece of the puzzle together, and then you could see in both of our faces, we were like, oh, my arch nemesis. And so then I just, from then on out, we just had not a good relationship at all. And so like, obviously then her mom was actually, I have to give her credit, she was pretty fair about the whole thing. But then I think the next year they didn't allow me to serve because of that. So then I was like, I'm not going back and making minimum wage as a hostess. My sister was making so much more money than me. So I worked at a surf shop. And then when I was 17, I went back and as a server there. And then I worked there for five years.
Whoa.
Yep. And she wasn't there anymore.
Yeah,
the
good.
manager and Rachel. Oh, and guess what, guys? She got pregnant the next year when she was 14.
Oh my gosh.
Or maybe she was 15 by then, because she was 14 when
Hope
we
that baby's
started.
loved and healthy, but damn.
I know, and her sister was all of them had their kids when they were like 15.
Really?
Her sister and her mom, yeah. So that was a really good job, because it was like we were done at like 1 p.m. So we had the whole day to like go to the beach and go out that night and all that. It was a really perfect summer job, but it was also quickly turning tables really quick, as quick as you could. And so I feel like breakfast serving is not as like intricate, I guess, as like fine dining at night or nighttime dining.
Yeah. You want to keep as many aspects of as a nighttime service, like points of service in breakfast serving, but you just want it to be kind of expedited.
Yes,
like,
much quicker. You want to get them in and out, because you could have one table all night you'd have multiple, but like you could have one table at all night that like tips you really fat. But with breakfast stuff, I mean, the bills sometimes are $20. I think you brought in a story.
I did.
Okay.
Am I the asshole for clapping back at a customer?
Okay, let's hear it. Set the stage. Ho.
So I'm working at a restaurant that has since closed, so I can say it. It's called Petty Cash. It was on Beverly. Beautiful, overpriced tacos. Loved it.
Yes.
I'm walking around my section, doing this, doing that. I'm a great server. People love me. I would always have this joke where I would start with guests and I would say, are there any dietary restrictions I should know about? And they would say, no. And my response would be, well, we'll find out.
That's cute.
And that was my great opening line.
Well, what if they did? Then
I would take it seriously. Then I would be like, okay, great. But then if they didn't, then I would be like, oh, I won them. They love me.
Cute.
So that was like, I'm really good. Loved it. Great. Awesome.
The charisma was oozing.
The riz was risen. I have this table come in, and she's just a little rancid. Just a little weird. And I was like, I don't like you, but like, whatever. I know how to like.
Was she drunk or something?
No, she's just rich. Just like when rich people come in wanting fine, like rich but didn't earn her money, you know? So it's like you come in with fine dining expectation, but I'm like, girl, we sell tacos and one of the margaritas is literally called the good shit. Like, chill the fuck out. Like, you're eating tacos, babe. You're good. Yeah. And so this woman is just like being OD on like she's just being really rude the whole time, and is like surrounded by like a gaggle of old gays, and clearly she's the one who's paying the bill. Okay. So all of her friends just sort of like are okay with it, kissing her ass. And so she's rude the whole time, but I'm like, whatever, I can take this. She's being rude. I'm just gonna like go charm my other tables. I'm at one of the T-tops. This woman catches my eye, snaps at me.
No.
And I like immediately like turn my eyes back to the guests that I'm talking to. And I think one of them was like, did she just snap at you?
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't talk about it. Like, let's keep going. On. And so then I take my sweet time. Yeah. I was like, I'm going to avoid this as much as I can. And then I walk up to the woman and I lean down to her and I go, you beckoned? And her gaggle of gays lost their mind. They're like, perfect. Beckoned?
They weren't laughing?
No. They were so upset that I said that. And I ended up having to give the table to a manager because I went in the back and I was like, she just fucking snapped at me, bro. Like I'm literally, my boundaries up. Like that is not a part of the deal. Like she's been rude the whole time, yada yada. Like I'm so fine not taking this. Like
I can't believe they got mad at you for saying that.
And because I embarrassed her and was like, I'm gonna.
What was her reaction though?
She was aghast, literally just like shocked. And I was like, you're not gonna snap at me and not think that I'm gonna retort with some like equally archaic expectation. Like,
well, what did you say that, or what did you say after they were all like, oh, do you remember?
I think I was like, I'll go get a manager. Or something like I just was like, you're like, I hate you too, basically.
Yeah.
I do not. I know what I just said. I would say it again. That's why I said it. Like, and then I don't think I got written up because my manager was like, yeah, that's kind of crazy, but like, just in the future, don't do that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, am I the asshole?
I say NTA. I cannot stand when people snap at servers, or anytime that ever happened to me. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm not your servant. I'm a server and I serve, honey.
I serve.
But I'm not your servant. Like, you don't snap at me. No. You don't snap at human beings, period.
No. And I also think to snap at a woman or a person of color, even if you would do it to both of those groups, is... Or
like either or any.
Yeah. I think it is still... There's like an element of like cultural context. Of like, honestly, do not snap at a black person.
True.
Do not snap at a woman.
Were they all white?
I think she was, like Latina maybe.
But like passing. Kind
of. I couldn't tell you. No, I think she was like European. So, but like French, like kind of like olive skinned. And then all our friends were like old white gays, like 50s, 60s people. And I was like, y'all, we live in the 2019 at the time. I was like, we don't do this.
No.
And I'm not going to sit here and like dignify that. I don't care if I get in trouble. I don't care if you leave me a bad review. You deserve the shame.
And if you were to get in trouble over that, I would be like, come on. Like, literally. I'm glad your manager had your back. Yeah. And that is what makes a good restaurant manager. Totally. I guess manager in general. But when because that woman that I was talking about earlier, the mom of my arch nemesis, like she was always so good about having our backs when people would complain about us. Like she was very like diplomatic about it. And that was something I really appreciated in the manager, because you have to give your staff the benefit of the doubt.
Totally.
And I understand there are situations where, you should probably, but it's like one of those things where it's like, be firm and be like, deal with the problem behind the scenes instead of like calling them out on the floor in front of the customer. Like, I feel like that's almost more unprofessional.
We the restaurant I loved, Republique, we would talk about this, where it's like the customer isn't always right, but the customer's never wrong. Is like how you really do it in fine dining.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes you get to be like, oh, that's not available.
Right.
But it's not like, fuck you.
Yeah.
There's a line. And I do believe in that in terms of like 99%. Sometimes a human being is just going to be like, yo, dude, don't talk to me like that.
Yeah.
Like, and sometimes we just have to like drop the like artifice of it all and be like, that's crazy.
Right.
That
like
you said that.
Human being to human being.
Like, we need to like pretend. We need to like stop pretending that like this is like a permanent relationship.
Yes.
Of like, no, you are actually not going to speak to me like that and have it be normalized. And I hope that she stopped doing that, because she was really embarrassed that I like was like, this is absurd that you just said that to me.
Yeah, I think just the like reaction from her friends though kind of makes me think that maybe, then they're like, I can't believe he did that, instead of like actually internalizing that and seeing what led you to do that.
Right.
Say NTA.
NTA. Thank you so much for the NTA.
For sure, NTA.
It's 5 years later, I really needed that. So thank you.
Now there is a situation that some people might think you are the asshole, actually.
I'm sure.
I think that people have heard this story. It might have been on a Patreon episode, but it might have been on the main. I can't remember, but we'll briefly share it. My Benihana birthday.
Oh.
Okay. So I'll just set the stage really quick. AITA for telling the
manager that the server was rude.
Yeah, the server was everything. An ass. So we were at Benihana and we were having a great time. It was my birthday. I was just in a goofy mood, And then our server comes and he is just a dud.
And a dick.
And
forgot waters.
And
like,
forgot
every
waters.
time.
And also, by the way, Benihana, very salty.
Very
So
salty.
you need water. He like didn't bring us ice cream at the end. And his attitude was just so, he like really brought the mood down. And it was a total bummer.
Totally.
We were kind of like busting his balls a little bit. Because I was kind of like, I'm not going to let you bring me down. But he could not crack a smile for the life of him. Now, the one thing I will give him, I understand that he might have been going through something personal and been having a bad day. I have had those days as a server before. However, I'd go cry in the bathroom and then I'd come out and I'd put on a happy face.
And if you're not going to be in a good mood, get the orders right.
True.
But you can't
be good in the ways that you could control if
Right.
you can't control your emotions.
Because I don't need a server to be like my best friend and like
Yeah.
blah, 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 sit down, kiki. Like, you don't have to do that. But it was like insult to injury that I was like, not only are you making us feel unwanted here, you're also like forgetting our stuff and like really basic like day one sort of
water.
Like, and like, mind you, like half the table are like longtime servers. So it wasn't like we're like dance monkey. It's like I've done this job.
Yeah.
For almost
we
a
weren't
decade.
snapping at him.
No one's snapping. We're
all we were
chilling.
asking was just to be somewhat pleasant and get the orders right.
Right.
Like you didn't have to be talking to us for very long. Be neutral. Be neutral.
Right.
You don't have to be even pleasant. Be neutral.
And like honestly, being nice, making people feel welcomed into the establishment, like let's not forget that the category of restaurant service work goes under the term hospitality.
Yeah, hospitality.
So like
customer service.
So you do have to be like somewhat hospitable and make it a pleasant experience. That is, I'm sorry, like actually the job description. Like this is not a Raz fucking restaurant where you come in to ask your servers to like make you feel bad about yourself because like that's the fun and novelty of it all. That was not the experience. I wanted a plastic hat and some sushi.
Yeah.
And a smile on your face, Garrett.
Yeah.
Just like and not even a smile. Just like actually don't be like actively rude. We finished the meal, and by the end of it, we'd been like sort of like over time being like, he like forgot that thing. Like, oh, for sure. Like we did ask for waters 10 minutes ago, and he came back to our table since
with
then.
one water.
With one water.
And it would be like we're all thirsty.
We're all
I'm
like
parched.
It is actually the most basic aspect to like look at your table and like see if or water cups are empty. Like. That's not, I'm sorry, none of y'all are going to make me think that that's too much to ask for.
And also, what did you guys tip him since you guys treated me on my birthday? Do you remember?
I think I tipped him 18.
Or maybe like a little less than 20, yeah.
I think I tipped him 18 because I do think that.
Just to show a little bit. Like,
I do think that like if you don't give.
Although, was that tip also going to the chef? I wonder if that's their
I
structure.
don't know how it works out. But regardless, again, like if that's the case, then
that really sucks.
That really sucks.
Because then you're the face of it. Then you even more should do a good job because you're affecting your
other
coworkers.
People's money. And so we finished, and we were leaving, and like the girls were in the lobby.
You went to the
or something.
bathroom. You're taking too long.
I'm literally not at all. I'm literally where we're at. I was actually further past the story than you were.
He goes to the bathroom.
I wasn't even going to the bathroom.
I thought you went to the bathroom and told the manager on the way.
The girls were in the lobby. We were about to leave.
And
then I walked back into the restaurant to find a manager.
Okay.
And so thank you for taking us further back. And so the girls are in the lobby. I go back inside and I'm like, hey, I just want to let you know, like, Garrett was really unpleasant.
I think you said he was an asshole.
I don't know if I said that. I think I said
he was a dick or something.
He was a dick. Yeah, I might have said he was a dick.
I think you used an explicitive. What is that called? An expletive.
Expletive. I was like, Garrett, I'll say that. I was like, Garrett was kind of a dick tonight. I was like, we're done. We're paid for. It's not, I don't want anything taken off the bill. I just want to let you know for like your own records. And he's like, oh, can I like give you dessert? I was like, no, dude. I was like, we're here. Like, we actually wanted to leave like a while ago, but he kind of was lagging. So like, we're kind of tired.
Throwing another one in there.
We're just ready to go. But the food is great. The chef was great. Like, thank you. I don't want anything. Because I've been on the side of it where you're like, hey, does that coworker suck? And you're like, no, he gets great reviews from guests. Everyone loves him. Like, maybe you're the problem. And it's like,
because
no, I think
people aren't actually
because people aren't saying like, hey, this guy sucks. I don't want anything. I just want you to know he sucks. So I don't know. I'm not going to feel bad. I worked in restaurants for 8 years. I know that like, I don't want this guy to get fired. I want you to like stop making other people's time there shitty because you're in a bad mood.
Yeah.
Like,
and I'm sure he didn't get fired. I'm sure he just like got a little talking to. And it's like, okay, if you are going through something hard right now with your personal life, like maybe, call out, or we can, adjust your schedule if you really can't get it together. But like when you're around your tables, could you like try and have, a pleasant demeanor?
which is like literally day one.
The bars on the floor. I think one of Danny's arguments was that he was like, I can't blame these people that are making minimum wage. Like maybe he's not making enough money, blah, blah, blah. And then I wish I had said, because I thought about this later, our bill was like $300.
Literally.
That means he was getting a $60 tip for us being there for what, an hour and a half
Literally.
tops. He was making plenty of money. So it's like, and also just that argument in general of like, so anytime anyone works a minimum wage job, you have to be bad at your job or don't put any effort into it.
And it's interesting because I think that the inverse of that is this really interesting experience now where you're saying, well, then people who have high paying jobs then aren't allowed to have issues with their job. Like if it's only about money, and if it's like, if you're getting paid less, you can be bad at it. But if you're getting paid a lot, then like you can't complain. Yeah. And it's like those actually don't have to be the only two options.
I was always taught like you just be, if you're going to be there, like be there. Doesn't matter what you do for a living or anything, but you just got to show up and be your best damn version.
Truly. Garrett,
we're looking at you.
So no, I will not be taking any critique on
and if you write in with some critique, he will not be listening.
I will not be listening to it.
So we have a new segment, A Hole Poll. And every week I'm going to be putting out a poll on our Instagram stories, AITA_pod. And it is going to be an asshole poll, basically. And so this week has something to do with service industry. And you guys can go on there and vote. When you receive mediocre service, what do you tip, is what I said. 36% said 20%. They still leave a 20% tip. Okay. 36% said they leave 15%. 21% says they leave 10%. And then 6% says they leave no tip at all.
Assholes.
So who do you think is asshole there?
The 0.
Yeah, to leave no tip. And also that was mediocre service.
Yeah.
Mediocre.
That's when people are like, you didn't dance and like spin 10 plates and juggle all at the same time. 0 tip.
Yeah, no tip.
Ridiculous.
Guys, you should never no tip.
If you really want to really be a dick to someone, I've only done this once in my whole life. I was at a restaurant and this woman was being like racist to me, and I was like,
oh, shit.
And I said it to her face. I was like, hey, like you're being like rude to me, and it seems like you're only doing this because like I'm the only black person here. She goes, I don't care. We're at a Korean spot in K-Town. And she was like, and I was like, that's really racist. And she's like, yeah, I don't care. Like, we don't really need you to come back. Like, this is a Korean place. Like, we don't need your business. So like, you're good.
Shut up.
And I was like, I'm literally doing nothing to you. Like, why are you being this rude? She goes, I don't care. And then, so I left her a penny.
Perfect.
Not 0, because I was like, I don't want you to say he didn't tip.
Yeah, 1 penny. How'd you even have a penny on you?
I was on a card, so I tipped 0.01.
Oh shit, that's even better.
Because 0 tip, everyone was like, it's like, oh, of course, no tip, but it's like 0.1.
No, 0.1. That's so petty. I love
like,
it.
I hate you.
That's so good.
So that's the only time
I can't believe that.
Yeah.
Okay, so then there was another poll I took after I got that. I did a follow-up, and I said, when you receive bad service, what do you tip? So 14% said 20. So there's still people out there that even if they get bad service, they're still tipping 20.
People who've never worked in a restaurant before.
I think they're the ones that are like always giving the server the benefit of the doubt and being like they're having a bad day. 24% tip 15%. 37% tip 10. So if they get bad service, they cut it completely in half. And then 24% said no tip.
Wow.
Somebody wrote in and said, to be more descriptive, because people have different definitions of bad service. If they're taking forever and it's slow and there's no communication, then I'm doing 10%. Now, if I'm getting attitude, my allergies are ignored, etc., then I wouldn't tip. So then I said, if it's the latter and they're being obviously negligent or rude, what do you tip? So 5% still said that they would do 20. 8% said they would do 15. 27% said they would do 10. And then 60% says no tip. And so I think for me, like I remember this one time specifically that it was like clearly not the server's fault at all that the food was taking a long time. Like it was completely out of her hands. And I remember the person I was with being like, oh, well, she just cut her tip in half. And I was like, no, that's not her fault. Like, and she brought out like a thing of pasta that wasn't like that we didn't order to like hold us over. And then they were kind of like, oh, okay, well, we'll give her a little bit more. I was like, no, you should still give her 20% because she did not do anything.
Totally.
Like it was not her fault.
Totally.
But I think if they are being like egregiously rude or just like completely, I think for me, it's mostly like the rude attitude, like going back to that, because I do understand sometimes when sometimes they're like so in the weeds, it's hard for them to be a good server because they're not having support from their manager or their coworkers, or they're getting sat way too much. You know, the host is seating them too quickly back to back. And so in those cases, if it's like slow and stuff, I'm like, I can't really blame them. It's kind of more like if they're being flippant or just rude, or it's like clear that they're just kind of hanging out in the back and not in a rush, then I still think like I'm kind of more in like the 15-ish range.
Yeah. I'm like, it's pretty hard for me to not tip 20% just off default.
Yeah.
And then if it's bad, it goes to 18. I don't
18.
really go any lower than 18.
Yeah.
Just out of like reflex. And I don't care that much. Like my mind is, I'm like, I'm not so affected that I'm like trying to affect you back.
Yeah.
Like,
And then there's also,
really
you have to think about that they're getting they're tipping out their bartenders and things like that
Right.
sometimes. So anyway, a-hole poll.
There you go.
Get in on that.
Hey,
Follow us
a-hole
on
poll. I
Instagram. And you can take our polls.
I will pull that hole.
Okay. So thank you guys for listening. Please rate, review, subscribe, follow us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and you can join us on Patreon. It's only $5 a month and you get it's basically eight extra episodes now because both Danny and I are going to be doing them.
Whoa. Sick.
Yeah.
What a deal.
Maybe sometimes one of us won't do it 1 week, but you're guaranteed at least 4. But
Wow.
now it might be more. Might be almost 8. Can you believe that?
That's
I don't think anyone out there is doing that for
Nope.
$5.
Nope.
That's for damn sure. Okay. AITA for giving a bad tip to a waiter who didn't write down the order and got it wrong. I normally always tip 20% for standard service and more than 20% for great service. One of the biggest pet peeves is when a waiter or waitress decides to not write down an order, especially if it's a long one, and then proceeds to mess it up. I'm not going to be impressed you memorize the order if you do not get it right, but if you're wrong, it's literally because you didn't care enough to write it down. Our waiter didn't write down our order. The food came out wrong. He handled the situation fine, but I left a 10% tip instead of 20. I've been feeling kind of guilty. AITA?
Yeah. I don't know. I feel weird about that. I feel like it's like I just don't like the idea of punishing people with tips.
Yeah.
Because it's like that server probably feels shitty enough. So like fucking with his money.
Yeah.
Over like
Oh, right. When they got it wrong.
an honest mistake.
Bad.
Like, yeah, he knows he probably should have wrote it down. And that he probably will realize that that's not sustainable for him anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And like one would say, how's he going to learn that lesson unless he starts to see it reflected in his money? But I think like if you got it all and it was, like if you ended up getting your food and he didn't charge you for both, like if he cleared it up, then
right. And fixed the error. And
like,
he said that he handled the situation
it well.
fine.
Like, did you really need to like punish him for like?
Yeah, and cutting it completely in
half
half. I
is a big
understand if
deal.
you do 18%, like
That's what I'm saying.
you say. I do feel like a lot of times the people on the polls that I took that are doing like no tip is I think they don't realize that like servers, that's actually in many states the only money they're making. Like they're not even making hourly. Like their tips then like cancel out the hourly. Like that's what it was in New Jersey.
Same when I served in Boston.
Yeah. California, we at least got checks.
Yeah.
They weren't like a lot, but it was still some.
I was getting hourly. I was getting minimum wage and then tips.
That's so good.
Like 18 an hour and then tips.
Yeah.
It's amazing
I
to
guess
serve
you're
in
right.
California.
Yeah. But yeah, our checks would literally be $0, like after we would claim our tips, because it would get taken out of it. And I think people weaponize tipping a lot.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I just don't love the like, you made a mistake.
So now
it's gonna have. It's like, yeah, he knows he made a mistake. That's why he corrected it.
And if he didn't correct it and he didn't handle the situation well, then I understand that.
Because then it's like, what is the, if he had written it down, and I guess what I'm also really responding to, I'm realizing now, is like OP saying like, my personal pet peeve is when blah 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 blah. It's like, okay, so if the server had written it down and then gotten it wrong,
it wouldn't have bothered.
Would it have like the food was still wrong both ways? So it's just weird that like this particular ick deserves for this man to just like have his wages cut in half. Like, I don't love it.
Yeah, I definitely don't think he should have done half. I do have to say though, I don't personally love when servers do that. I was not a person that did that because I didn't have a good memory like that. But I also don't love when servers do it because A, I'm not impressed that much, and then B, I also am worried you're going to get my order wrong.
I was just going to say that. Like, the
Especially
job of a server
like
is to reduce
allergies.
all anxiety.
Yeah.
It's like, I want you to know that I wrote it down. I don't care how long it takes. I'm going to write it down and I'm going to repeat it back to you. So that, because it's also insurance for me to be like, I repeated the order, babe.
Yeah.
I repeated it.
Right.
Like, but when you don't repeat the order.
True.
And then it's like, I didn't order that. And it's like, but you did. And it's like, well, you didn't write it down and you didn't repeat it to me. It's like, you, the server now, don't have the insurance just so you can be like, ooh, cool party trick. I'm going to not write your order down and then fuck it up. Like,
yeah, I don't know why
you don't look cooler. No one's going to walk up and be like, oh my God, babe, the server didn't write down our order.
I know. Can you believe that memory?
Should we fuck him? Like, babe, they don't care.
Yeah.
No one cares.
No, if anything, it causes more. But my mom was like that. She has a really good memory, and she would take orders without writing them down. I'm like, but why?
And like, what else did you? It's a very like archaic thing, and again, it kind of goes into this like, I think that there's institutions within serving that feel like this like fear of breaking the fourth wall, where like, which again goes back to the like snapping, you beckoned kind of thing of like, a server's only purpose is to know every single thing in the world. So like, if you have to write it down, like, you clearly like aren't that good at your job. And it's like, no, babe, I have 8 tables and I got triple sat. I'm gonna write your order down. Yeah. Because like at the end of the day, you want it to come out right? Like, so don't be weary of writing down orders. It's very important and normal.
Well, I remember this one time, and this has happened a few times in my life, but where a server came up and then we were like, oh, we're ready to order. And then the server's like, oh, okay. And you can see that they are trying to memorize the order, but then in their head, but then the order just gets a little bit more complicated. And then they're like, oh, hold on. Like, I'm going to go grab my notepad. And this has happened to me before a bunch too, because it would be like, okay, I'll try. Like, I didn't have my notepad on me at the time. Then I was like, oh, sorry. Like, I'm going to go grab my notepad. And I remember I was out with friends and they like all like when she did that like rolled their eyes and were like, oh yeah, like she was trying to memorize it. I was like, no guys, that this has happened to me a bunch before. Like I just didn't have my pad on me, and so I had to go run and get it. Like it doesn't seem like she was trying to memorize it. We just like bombarded her with our order. So I was like, chill out.
It's so interesting. Like I you know how like in Israel, like everyone has to serve in the army. I feel the same way that
my
think
mom and I always
should
say that.
have to serve should have to work as a server
and retail too.
Have to. Yes. And I did both.
Yeah,
I did both.
I think so too.
So yeah,
I'm
gonna go with a YTA.
I'm gonna go with YTA too. But I also do understand your pet peeve. Like that is, I get frustrated by that too. But nonetheless, YTA. Okay, now this is one that Danny and Sarah covered on a bonus episode, actually. So if you guys want to go and listen to that, those of you that are patrons have probably already heard it. But if you out there, it's only $5 a month. I mean, what are you doing? It was episode 622B. And this was actually a thread on Twitter. So I'll just read it quickly and then we'll give our take. We'll tell you briefly what their take was and then we'll give ours briefly. So I went to Malta for a work trip on my Lufthansa business class flight back, and I had such an awful, uncomfortable interaction with the flight attendant. She had been pretty cold the whole 12-hour flight, but I remained kind as I knew it was a privilege to be in the seat I was in. Work paid for it. However, when it was time for our before landing meal, I ordered the chicken curry dish, but when it was brought out, it had nuts present on it, which I'm allergic to. When I saw the nuts, I immediately got the flight attendant's attention to switch out for the vegetarian meal, explaining my tree nut allergy. When I told her, she rolled her eyes at me, and then when I asked if the vegetarian dish had nuts, she stood aside, pointed at the person next to me plate, and said, "It's vegetarian," with a tone that made me feel stupid for protecting my health.
Not the answer to the question also.
Literally. Noting that I wouldn't have had this problem if the menu mentioned the dish had nuts on it. It didn't. It truly made me feel so uncomfy for the rest of the flight. I am always kind to people, especially when I'm in situations where I feel very privileged, because I know how snobby people can be. But this made me nervous to speak up about my allergy out of fear that I would be treated like an idiot. God forbid I don't want to use my EpiPens on a flight with 2 hours left and risk my life. What are you rolling your eyes about?
Just the absurdity of it all. I think it's like...
Okay.
No, what were we going to say?
Well, I was just going to tell their point of view.
Oh, yeah. Go.
Sarah and Danny's.
Go.
They were taking the side of the flight attendant, and they basically were saying that he seemed like the type of guy that was like, oh, dance monkey, and like they were just sort of being like, you know, the flight attendant is just there to like get things for you, and they were defending the flight attendant's actions here. And then they were mainly saying that if you had a nut allergy, wouldn't you ask if it was life threatening? And then they were also saying that the way he was saying, like, I know it was a privilege to be in the seat I was in, was seeming like pretentious and stuff. So I read it completely different than them. Mm-hmm. And then I posted it online, and all the comments were, most, I should say, of the comments were on OP's side.
Yeah, I would have to agree with the AITA pod gang.
Yeah.
I don't think I love again, I'm just going to go back to like the basic of the job of being in customer service hospitality at all.
Because that's a flight attendant's job.
Is to be approachable and nice and personable. That's like why you do in face-to-face interviews, to like check the vibe and like see if you're cool, like, because it's a part of the job.
Yeah.
Like, so to say that like this person was asking for too much or being bothered that the woman was allegedly cold, but it's like, that is you're allowed to like say, hey, she was kind of rude to me, and then when this situation came up around my like literal life or death, she was also subsequently rude to me. That is like a part of the story. Yeah. You know, and so to say that like this guy was asking for too much and like, and yeah, the nuts definitely should have been on the menu. Yeah. But I also think
Danny and Sarah did say that too.
But I also think like a huge part of the flight attendant's job is to be like the first responder with like health needs. Right. Health concerns.
You think you want to deal with the goddamn EpiPen situation?
Like a flight attendant should be generally concerned about your health. That's like kind of the point of like a flight attendant, because they represent not only airline but like the whole crew. Like they're the ones who are there to like keep you safe and keep you feeling healthy and seen, and like that's normal to be like, hey, I might die if I eat this. Oh my god, babe, I'm so sorry. Yeah, you're right, it didn't say it on the menu. Yeah. Does this other one have nuts on it? To then respond, it's vegetarian. Literally, babe, did not ask if there's meat in it.
Yeah, nuts are vegetarian.
Nuts in it. Like,
That's not answering the question.
It's not answering the question
at all, because nuts can also be hidden in things as well.
Right.
So what? You didn't answer the question. You were rude the entire flight, apparently, being very cold.
Right.
Which, honestly, a lot of flight attendants are. And I think it's also like they're not working for tips, though. I think they hold more power than like a server does, you know?
Totally.
Like for some reason, I don't think that they have as much hospitality as servers do, I've found. However, in business class and first class, they definitely have a lot more hospitality. Right. That's for sure.
And like, I don't know that it's like, you know, I guess I just don't know really what OP did wrong, you know? Like, they were saying like, oh, I want to be nice because like I know that like it looks like I'm like snooty and I'm not, so I just want to be.
And I know they have to deal with it a lot, so I'm trying to be polite.
Cool, but also like, and like, it's just interesting because it's like the flight attendant. It's almost like she projected her expectation of what this business class, you know, person was gonna be, and was sort of rude to him on the jump.
Yes,
but he was like, girl, I'm like really not trying to be rude to you right now, but like I actually can't eat nuts, and like I know you didn't say that, I know it's you're not your fault, but can you help me like avoid the situation? And to like sort of put the continued onus on him when all he did was neither of them are at fault that it didn't say that on the menu, but when he brought it to light, it should have been like held with the like, oh, this is like actually like a life or death thing.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
Why would I be rude to you about that?
Well, like, I don't understand. And I think something Danny and Sarah were both saying was, it was like, wouldn't you have checked beforehand? And like, the food's already to you. Like, why didn't you tell me before? I'm sorry. It's not that big of a deal to get him a new dish. No. It's not at all.
Billion-dollar probably worth company.
Oh, yeah.
They don't even know what's happening with the food.
No.
They're not tripping.
And it's a tiny little dish, and there's probably, now granted, it might have been a scenario where they didn't have enough vegetarian options left, but I do think they usually overstock them, especially because you never know.
I mean, even if you go to a Thai restaurant, like most curries it'll have like a chili and then like a little nut thing next to it.
Yes.
Like
it's absurd that it wasn't on the menu.
It's very clear when something usually has nuts in it.
Yeah.
So like generally speaking, like, and a nut allergy. So like I also have food allergies, and so because I have food allergies, I am very accustomed to asking if there's gluten or corn or something in something.
So he claims.
I got 3 tests to check if I am allergic. It's not a feeling. It's not a guess.
I'd like to see these tests.
And so, with my alleged food allergies, I always am checking and I'm always asking. But I will say, like...
Yeah, would you have in this scenario if all of it, like... I feel like the ingredients should have been listed or something, right?
Yeah, I think it's really weird that this airline didn't say anything, and I just... OP's not at fault for anything. And, like... being surprised that this thing has nut... Like, and I'm trying to think about it right now. I'm like, do most curries have nuts? Like, I feel like
it's not a blanket
They
statement.
might have, like, green curry, I feel like doesn't. I feel like yellow curry might have peanuts in them sometimes.
Yeah, and cashews sometimes.
But
I think it's not a given.
It's not a given. So it
needs to be listed.
It needed to be listed, and I don't think that he deserved the smoke and the, like, condescension of it all.
No.
And so, no, I'm sorry, Danny. I don't agree with you, Bubba.
No.
Sorry.
NTA,
OP.
Someone said, yikes, imagine treating someone who is just trying not to die with such disrespect. Nuts are also vegetarian, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, it's... Because the thing is, like, a nut allergy is so gnarly, dude. Like, that shit can be, like, in the air. Like...
Oh, yeah. Some people are allergic that way.
Like, about, like, eating a nut. Like, it's, like... It's really heinous. And this is not to dump on Danny and... Sarah, is her name Sarah?
Yes.
Hi, Sarah.
She was the host before us.
Hi, Sarah.
Let's move on, shall we?
Let's move on.
AITA for asking an annoying pest of a waiter to leave us alone during a serious conversation. My mom and I decided to have a heartfelt conversation while enjoying dinner at a local restaurant. We were discussing some deeply personal matters and needed a quiet, private environment. However, the entire experience got derailed due to a persistent and annoying waiter. At first, the waiter seemed friendly, which we appreciated. But as our conversation progressed, it was like they transformed into an annoying pest. They kept interrupting us, demanding our attention by asking how the food tasted, attempting to upsell us on various items, and hovering around our table. Their constant interruptions were becoming incredibly grating. At one point, I decided to take a stand. I politely, albeit firmly,
You go off, Susan B. Anthony.
asked the waiter not to come back to our table unless we explicitly signaled them. I explained that our conversation was important and that their persistent interruptions was disruptive. They seemed taken aback, but they did give us some space for a brief period. However, the waiter complained to the manager about my request for some peace and quiet. The manager came over to our table to address the situation. While the manager was understanding, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being treated as the bad guy here. Could I have handled this differently, and was my plea for some understanding and space reasonable considering the circumstances? AITA?
I'm probably going to be the unpopular opinion.
Okay.
The server's not there to be your friend.
No, I agree.
I learned that lesson while I was serving, where I was like, ooh, girl, they're
You're
out
overstepping.
to hang out with their friends.
Yes.
They're not here to like become my friend.
Yeah.
I'm here to facilitate an experience and go to my next table.
Mm-hmm.
Dip in. And like you can walk by and thumbs up, check. Like just the key to it is walk by and like let your presence be known.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't always have to be verbal.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have to always be like, hey guys, are like no.
Enough like walk by so that they could get your attention if they needed it. Or give them a little like everything okay.
Right.
Yeah.
But like I absolutely agree that sometimes it's like, girl, I'm not out to dinner with you.
Yeah.
I literally came here to like talk to this person. That's why we're like dressed up and like out. Whether it's like a important conversation or not. Because what I will say, the only thing against OP is like we came to have this like really important discussion in private.
A quiet, private environment.
But my girl, you're literally in public. You're literally in public, babes. That's the definition of not private. Like that's not private. But
that's what I thought too.
But what I will say, other than that, like I think just as a general rule of thumb, like the servers don't need to be like if they're good, their waters are filled.
Yeah.
They're eating.
They got their ketchup.
You don't need to talk to anything. You don't need.
Yeah. And as a server, you can tell though when your tables want to engage with you. Mm-hmm. And it's clear that they're like, asking you about your life, and you can get like, I mean, there's been times where I've been talking to my table for a long time, but it's like because they obviously want to talk to me. But I'm usually get in, get out. It is hard to gauge when you're interrupting. Like, I know I've definitely interrupted people and they've looked at me like, okay, you're interrupting me at like the climax of my story or like my punchline or something. And I've had that happen to me before too, where I'm like, Jesus, like I'm about to tell like the best part of the story and you just walked in and now we have to give our orders and the moment's gone, But you can't really tell, like, unless you're going to linger around and see if there's an opening. Like, you don't have time for that as a server to gauge when their conversation is. But also, as a server too, you can kind of tell when people are having serious conversations.
100%.
I mean, sometimes they're crying and shit, 100%. And then you just never. And then maybe I'll walk by, like you were saying, and then if they need me, but I avoid the table because I'm like, I'm not gonna get in the middle of that.
Totally.
So I can definitely tell if they're kind of looking at me like, "Can you leave?" Mm-hmm. So
and
I think it's why
like steps of service is important as a like server. It's like greet, get drinks, talk about appetizers, talk about food allergies, get appetizers, while the appetizers are cooking, come back and get mains. Mm-hmm. Go the fuck away. Yeah. Check it. Then from that point on, you're just
after they get their mains, you check in, see if everything tastes good, if their steak is cooked right.
You're just checking in from the rest
they need
of the
any
time.
Sauces, and then after that, come back like around the time they're done eating.
Coasting. Yeah. Like you don't need once you get those mains in, the rest of the interaction like severely should decrease. Yes. Like once you get all the pertinent information, you do not need to like because then by that point also it's like, girl, what are you upselling? The moment's gone.
Yeah, honestly.
Like, you're not...
And no one likes an upseller.
No.
in any kind of
I never
industry.
did, and I always did great with like liquor sales and shit. I was
Yeah.
like, you don't need, you're gonna order it if you want to order it. Like,
And I was always honest about like I can always tell when a server, when I ask them what's good and they list only the expensive things on the item. I'm like, I clock you. I know what you're doing because I didn't do that. I would say what I genuinely thought was good. And I mean, yeah, maybe you throw in a like one.
I would do one. I'd be like, the steak's amazing, $99. But
yeah.
like, yeah. So,
and I would always be honest if the food, if like I liked a dish or not, because you gotta like, as a server, there's also this like game where you play where it's almost like, say your kitchen doesn't allow substitutions, then I would always be like, oh, I know it's such a ridiculous rule. I'm so sorry.
Literally.
Like you gotta like almost
be on their side.
You got to be on the guest's side.
Totally. Oh my God. I'm going to side note for 1 second because you brought up something about not liking food. And it reminded me of this restaurant that I worked at where it was this Asian restaurant. And I did not like the spring rolls. And someone was like, oh, I didn't really like those. And I was like, I don't like them either. And they were like, what? And I was like, they suck. They're really bad.
Yeah.
And then like in that restaurant, all the food was bad. And as I was quitting, I was walking out of the front door, and it's like a movie. I'm on my skateboard riding down Sunset Boulevard, and I'm like leaving the restaurant. The whole patio is full, and I shit you not, this is verbatim. I go, hey everyone, and the whole patio turns their head like one accord and just like goes, boom, look at me, and I go, they don't wash their forks, and I skated off into the sunset.
Shut up.
Because they don't. They didn't.
They don't?
No, it was so fucking
What do you mean?
gross. They would like spray it a little bit, and I would be picking off food from forks.
They would just spray them? With what?
Like a solution, but they weren't like
Washing
hot water,
it?
like washing the fucking forks.
Did you see anyone's reaction?
No. I just was like, I
skated
gotta get out of
off.
here. I was like, I gotta go. That restaurant was also so gross because it taught me this. I was 20. So gross. I would fucking
Wash their forks.
There was this really bad culture of like people would eat the food that the guests were done eating.
Mm.
And I
wait.
had never done that before.
Oh.
And I was like, that's so gross.
I used to do that.
And then I was like, and I'd never, and I did it, but I was
Yeah.
like, this is fucking disgusting. I do not know whose food this is.
Yeah, I used to do it all the way up until the pandemic.
I was
Like the pandemic completely changed. And you want to know something? I was sick like all the time when I was working at that restaurant. It was like, yeah, because you're eating off of fucking people's strangers' food.
Yeah.
Like I just had no comprehension about like germs and stuff.
So gross. And I was like, this restaurant has ruined me. I'm so glad I'm gone. But no, I would say to this store, no, you're not like, and also we don't know what the conversation was. Like if she's talking about like, oh, I need to like go no contact with dad, or like you can't come see the baby. Like if this is like actually a really deep conversation, OP might have been in like a really gnarly headspace that might have made her like say that a little bit differently.
Right.
Than she would have if she was like gathered. But it's like, I kind of hold a lot of grace for being like, hey, I'm already having this difficult conversation. Can you get the fuck out of my face?
Yeah.
Like, I did not come here to hang out with you.
Right.
Why
and
are
the fact
you here?
That then the manager came over to address the situation.
So
what
weird.
situation?
So weird. The manager should have been like, yeah, girl, leave him alone.
Yeah, back off.
That's so weird. Like, this is not like your little niece that you have to like go like say, why didn't you invite her to the play date?
Yeah. This is a scenario where like the manager shouldn't have like had the servers back so hard. It's kind of like
The customer was right.
The customer was right. It's okay to have some space. I mean, she said it sounds like she was polite about it, but she was firm. Like,
right.
Hey, we need some space. And I think that's completely reasonable.
So I'm going to go NTA. I don't know if that's unpopular with the rest of AITA, but like, I just don't think it's weird to be like, hey, I'm not here to hang out with you.
Well, someone here says YTA 100%. Needed a quiet, private environment. Then go to one. You went to a public restaurant where someone's job is literally to go to your table through your time there. You sound terrible to interact with. I doubt he complained to his manager. Manager likely asked why he was avoiding the rude people at the table, as it's his fucking job to watch his tables. And the way you call him an annoying pest. Have some fucking time to reflect. You are the annoying person who chose a public restaurant when needing a quiet, private space. Entitled and rude. I guess I get that, like the annoying pest part and stuff, but whatever. It's not like she called him an annoying pest to his face. Like she's
Right.
just recounting it.
I think that there's this expectation of like, if I schmooze, they'll tip me more.
Yeah.
It's like your intentions aren't really pure as a server to like overextend yourself. You're doing it because you want more money.
Yeah.
Which is like actually what a huge part of that is discretion, babe.
Well, that's the other thing too with like retail workers sometimes. I love going into shops, like especially thrift shops and vintage shops and stuff. And I just like browsing. Like most of the time I'm actually not buying anything, which I mean, maybe that is annoying for people to have people come in all the time and like not buy stuff. But it's not like I'm doing that to the same shop every day or something. But I always like for retail workers, I'm kind of like, let the person like do their thing and then come to them ask them if they need anything. And then if not, like, oh, here, try this on, do that. Like it's a little bit of a vulnerable thing, like trying on clothes. So I think it's just sort of like, let them do their thing.
I always approach a retail worker being like, hey, do you have this?
Yes. And I think that's just let the customer come to you, I think. And don't try and upsell them, because you can also put clients, whatever, in an uncomfortable position, because then I'm almost like, oh shit, now I feel like I have to buy something here.
If anyone is a server or a retail worker, I'm going to give you the key to the castle right now.
Oh.
Say things in motion. Walk by the table, be walking by, being like, you need anything? Cool, bye. I'm already gone.
Yeah.
I'm not in your hair, but you can't say I didn't check in on you. Retail, walking by. Do you guys looking for anything? No? Cool, I'm not in your hair.
Yeah.
Looking for, oh, you are? Great, I'll make like a quick turn and come to you.
Yes.
But like, if I just am like, hey, do you want anything right now?
Yeah.
And I'm actually not going to move.
Yeah.
Until you buy something for me.
Yeah.
It's like, sir, I actually was going to, and you're kind of freaking me the fuck out now.
And now you're breathing down my neck.
Now you're making me feel like I want to get out of here because I don't like your aura.
Yes.
So do it in motion.
Do it in motion.
That's always what got me a 20% tip average. Which is very good.
That is really good. Damn.
20% average.
All right, so I guess we're going to go NTA here.
NTA.
Wow.
Sorry, I stand by
we're
it.
going against the grain. No, that one did go NTA, actually. All right, then we're just going to wrap it up on a quick little listener submission.
Hi,
so
baby.
I'm going to make sure to do at least one of these every episode. And so we mainly just do these on the main episodes, but in order to be able to cover more of them, if you guys are interested, those of you who are Patreon subscribers and you're okay with your situations being read on bonus episodes, just make a little note of that in your submission so that we can read it there, because we want you guys to always hear our advice and our verdicts. Yeah, just make a little note of it in the submission, which is on our subreddit, AITA pod. So AITA for still going to car meets despite my fiance's wishes. So about 2 months ago, I purchased my dream car with the help of my beautiful fiance. We have a 2-year-old daughter and a baby boy that will arrive next week. Since the purchase of my car, I've been attending car meets and doing photo shoots with friends and other people. There's this girl who drives a car similar to mine, and she's always attending the same car meets that we go to. She takes pictures and videos of all our cars. She's in a group chat with a few friends and me. My fiance says that she's attracted to me, which I don't see. And if she is, I know where my feelings belong. AITA for still going to these car meets.
I feel like I do not know enough about any of this. So I'm assuming a car meet is just like circle jerk. We all have nice cars.
Well, it's like I think it's like a lot of times they like meet in a parking lot or some kind of thing, and they all like they're all like looking at their cars and doing donuts maybe. Sometimes they can be like old fashioned car shows and sorts of things, but they used to do this in New Jersey, like in the area that I went to school. They kind of just like would all go into this one fast food chain parking lot and just like chill and like talk about their cars and stuff.
So I guess the reason I feel like OP is withholding some information is there weren't genders on this, right?
No, there wasn't.
So it sounds like this is a guy. Mm-hmm. And I would want to ask him what contact has this girl made thus far.
Yeah.
Why does his fiance feel threatened
that he's
by her?
Attracted, right?
You know, because like being attracted to someone is very different than having fear that your partner's going to act on someone else's attraction. So like, unless this girl's a psycho, his fiance's a psycho,
Yeah, there's got to be
something
some
happened.
kind of.
And it seems like this post is really vague, but this is one of your writers, so I don't want to flame too hard,
yeah.
right? But like, to whomever's listening, I feel like you're not telling us the full story.
Yeah, I mean, I guess she's in the group chat. I can also I can see being a woman where you're kind of always like a little bit like, you know, looking around if any of your guys' girlfriends are like acting inappropriately, I'd say, or like, oh, is there any like a little something going on there? I think that's like a biological thing from like way back in the day.
But what action did OP take to confirm the suspicion in his girlfriend? Because I'm sure that OP and the girl at the car meet are not the only two women in the world who are attracted to this man. So like, there's got to be something that he's doing that's making her radar go off. Because a woman simply being attracted and attractive isn't enough to make someone be like, It's like, I'm actually worried that you might do something too. That would make someone be like, I don't want you to see her anymore.
Yeah. I mean, it could just be as easily as like she's flirting with him, like the fact that she's in the group chat, like, you know, she might be good looking, so she's just a little threatened. Like, I could see a world where it's like he didn't necessarily do anything, but like her antennas are up for whatever reason.
Right. And I guess with the initial question of like, am I the asshole for still going? It's like,
I mean, that would suck to have to compromise your hobbies.
Yeah.
Just based on a
suspicion that someone might be attracted.
And what, you're not allowed to go anywhere in public when someone's attracted to you?
Right. And that's where I get to be like, that's why I'm like, did he do something that he's not telling us? Because this feels like such a big leap of the fiance to be like, she's in your group chat. There's another existing woman within a 5 feet proximity. Yeah. You can't go there. Like, that seems like such a big jump.
Should we read a comment?
Yeah.
Based on what you wrote, I'd say no assholes here, but talk to your fiance and try to understand what she's feeling. Unless you're adopting, it sounds like she's heavily pregnant right now and might be feeling insecure or might want you around a bit more. Good point. Hormones. 7 months pregnant. You're not like feeling like yourself. Like, you're probably not feeling sexy. And then this girl who is also interested in cars, something that your fiance is interested in. Like, yeah, I could see it being something in her head. And I'm not trying to blame the woman or anything like that, but I just can see myself doing something like that. I don't think I'd ever forbid him from going, but I think I would always, I'd probably make little comments like, oh,
your girlfriend's gonna
Charlene
be there?
gonna be there? Yeah, exactly. So I'll finish the comment. It also might be true that this car meet woman is flirting with you and she's clocking it and wants you to be aware, meaning the fiance wants him to be aware. If it's that simple, then reassure your fiance. Tell her that you will be on the lookout for any inappropriate behavior, and if this woman crosses the line, you'll set boundaries. That would show her you care about her concerns, whereas just saying you don't see it is dismissive and could be viewed as you trying to hide something. Having your own hobbies is important, and you shouldn't avoid this community altogether based on one person being involved. Doesn't sound like she is forbidding you to go either, just expressing a concern. Talk, validate her feelings, and enjoy a happy, healthy life with your growing family.
Yeah.
That was sweet. Whole custard 69.
That was good.
69.
That's pretty much it. Like, I'm quick to being like, well, what did you do? Did he go, or does he just want to go? Is it would I be the asshole?
I think he said AITA, for still going to these meets. Yeah. So it sounds like the comment was saying that he's not really validating her feelings, or, you know.
Well, because I guess if it's a still going, then I think that changes my answer. Because if it was a would I be the asshole, I would say no. But am I the asshole for still going? Yes, because you should have talked with her before you continued going. You should have handled the shit at home first. And then once it was all squared away, then you can go. I think you can miss a car meet or two for like the purpose of your fiance feeling safe and validated by her partner.
Yes.
You can miss one.
Right.
To like make sure you're good.
Yeah.
First. And he didn't check that he was good first.
And before going.
Yeah.
Well, here's another comment that kind of goes along with what you were just saying. Sickadol says, has your girlfriend ever met her? What's it worth to you to ensure the mother of your newborn child feels secure? No assholes here, but even with the 7-month-old at home, I'm not doing anything to rock the boat in my marriage. Both parents go through things with the added stress of a newborn/expanding family. This would surely not be the hill I would die on. But you might be able to get away with outright saying, honey, if this woman ever comes on to me or ever hints that she's interested, I'll tell her verbatim that I only have eyes for you and our family. And she would be a terrible person to even try and hit at wanting to wreck our family. I don't mind hurting somebody's feelings by rejecting them without a shadow of a doubt. So, yeah, you're right. But with the fact that you have a 2-year-old, you have a baby boy that's going to arrive with it next week. Congratulations. They must already be here at this point. That was 2 weeks ago or almost here. Yeah. Maybe just sit it out for a little bit, especially if when you got time to be going that when you got a newborn anyway. Right. So I don't think you should give up your hobbies, but I do think there's a way that you could handle it better with your baby mama and just to make her feel like you have nothing to worry about. I just enjoy going to the car, looking at the cars.
I just want to look at the cars. And as long as that's the only thing you're looking at, then you
exactly. So no assholes here. Just handle it.
Yeah.
Do what we said.
Right.
Well, thank you guys so much for listening and tuning in. Horace, thank you for being here. He has a new podcast.
I do.
Plug it a little bit. We talked about it more on the Patreon. But
yes, I have a podcast. It's called Hardly Qualified with Horace Gold. You can find it on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen. You can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Hardly Qualified Pod. There's 2 episodes a week. So one is an interview and then the other is a solo episode on whatever my mind is rotating around that week. We've been in more of the political space as it started, but that will not be where it goes. I am just excited to talk about culture and community and things that I find to be very interesting. Looking at it through a sense of humor. And
he had a great episode with his MAGA mom. Just like how he's been able to have a relationship with her throughout all of these years. She's a Christian conservative. And then he had on a woman who is also, she's an LGBTQ member, but she's also Christian and was raised Christian. And so they were also just talking about their experience growing up in a church.
A gay Christian.
God and a gay Christian. So it's interesting to hear about that stuff, even if it wasn't your experience at all, because it's good to hear about experiences that you haven't experienced.
So come check
How many
me
times
out
can I
over
say
there.
experience?
EXPERIENCE. Period.
And then follow me. Look at me. I'm Shannon D on TikTok and Instagram. And then follow AITA_pod. Thank you guys for listening. Bye. Yeah. Oh, we got a real singer here now.
We got a real singer here now.